everybody, and welcome to Whisper to Scream. My name is Bernard, and I am your host. We're calling this edition our August 2018 Watching the Summer Slip Away edition. So much stuff is going on. My main thoughts are about what's happening now, but you know we always like to do updates on past stories. Now, in one of our previous broadcasts, we broke down how Social Security payments are grossly underpaid based on the amount of money that we and our employers contributed to this fund. Now, you can search the Whisper to Scream archives for that breakdown. You're going to be surprised at that. Now, we find that Social Security has a surplus of $2.9 trillion. That's trillion dollars. That money is intact. So why do we keep hearing these stories about Social Security about to go bankrupt, and stories about laying off employees, making things more complicated and cloudy than they need to be? Now, based on today's financial picture, this fund will be intact at 100% for the next 16 years and 93% for the next 25 years. Also good to know is that the surplus is never invested in the stock market. These funds are invested through instruments like treasury bonds, etc. Folks, we have to pay attention to our Congress people. Now, if you'd like to know more about Social Security and the truth about what's going on, get this book. It's called Social Security Works by Nancy J. Altman. It just came out about 2 weeks ago. Or go to socialsecurityworks.org. Let me tell you, Miss Altman is no stranger to the history of Social Security, so check her out and check her book out. You might remember last season we showed you a story where an Asian merchant and his wife did a beatdown on a black woman, scuffling her all the way down to the floor. Why? Because they suspected her of stealing a pair of false eyelashes. And they didn't apologize for their assault until film of the beatdown went viral on the social media, and they realized they could lose revenue, lose some money. Now here comes another story. An Asian man punched a black woman right in the face outside of a beauty supply store. Now he accused her 9-year-old son of shoplifting. Now the mother and the male shop owner exchanged some words, and he hauled off and punched her in the face. Then walked back inside the store and shut the door. Now take a look at this video.
Oh! Oh, he just hit her! Oh! Ah, dang, this door is locked. She bleeding.
So my question is, why did he feel safe enough to punch this woman and not worry about reprisal from the neighborhood? I just don't think he would have done that to a white woman. So why do men and women from other ethnicities think it's okay to physically and socially batter our women? What are we as men not doing that makes black women vulnerable to marketplace abuse? Now, I want you to take a look at what some men from a neighborhood did to establish their presence to a shopkeeper who assaulted a black woman from the community.
If I can't talk to you, I need to talk to somebody. Who do I talk to? Who do I talk to? Let me handle this, y'all quiet. Who do I talk to? Who? Who? Who do I talk to? Not her. She's not the owner. I want to talk to somebody that's in charge. Yeah, okay. Here's my point. I'm going to say this. There was a young lady from our community that came in this store last week. She had her granddaughter in a car seat. You all thought she was stealing. She wasn't stealing. But the owner roughed up a young child in a car seat, digging in the car seat, thinking that this parent stole something, and she did not. She did not. He didn't even apologize. What he did was, he said, all black bitches steal and get the fuck out of my store. We got it on video. And I'm telling you this, how dare you disrespect our community? How dare you call our women black bitches? That is intolerable, and that's not happening. We're going to shut you down. We're coming back here. We're going to be in front of this store. We're going to show you what a black bitch is. And you sit here and shake your head, yeah. I can show you better than I can tell you.
Okay, now this is to the men. Now, men, this is what we need to do in our communities all over this country. We have to let everyone in the neighborhood know that we will be respected. That means respect from the shopkeepers, from the police, and from visitors. Now, God will not help a people who will not first help themselves. I repeat, God will only help people who help themselves. So men, how about gathering for something other than sport and play? Let's meet to discuss how to protect our women and our children and our neighborhoods. We all remember what happened in Ferguson, Missouri about 4 years ago when the young Michael Brown was murdered by the white gypsy cop. The white prosecutor refused to indict the cop. Now, many thought it was because the prosecutor's father had been killed by a black man. But anyway, that white prosecutor has had a stunning loss in his bid for a 7th term. He was defeated by a young black man, 43 years old, named Wesley Bell. Now, Mr. Bell is an attorney, he's an educator, and a community organizer. His new appointment shows that white and black people agree with his ideas and realize it's time for unity. Now, this was a Democrat Party vote, and since there is no one running on a Republican ticket, it is hopeful Mr. Bell will have a smooth transition to the St. Louis County Prosecutor's Office. We'll keep our eyes open on this story. Now, while we're there in Ferguson, check this out. This is a video of Michael Brown's mother.
Almost 4 years ago to this day, I ran down this very street. And my son was covered in a sheet. It broke me, you know. It brought me down to my knees and made me feel crippled as if I could do nothing else anymore from that moment. But as time went on and I stayed surrounded by support and motivational people who knew what happened was wrong and didn't give up the fight, I learned to walk again. And this is one of my first steps running for Ferguson City Council of 2019.
Okay, 4 years ago, the black community in Ferguson and other groups wanted to see real change in that county. And they didn't vote because they felt like their votes wouldn't mean anything. But now we see the power of the vote. That brings up the subject of voting. We have some serious elections coming up across this country. And I hear some people say, I don't vote because my vote doesn't count. It doesn't change anything. But that's what some members of our country want you to believe. I want to take your attention to a small county in Georgia called Randolph County. And that county is 96% black. Officials have trumped up false reasons for closing 7 of the 9 voting stations in that county. Now, they already know that it would be a hardship and that many of the residents, mostly black, don't have transportation. And there is no public transportation in many of the precincts. So why close 7 of the 9 voting stations? I'll tell you why. Because they don't want those people to vote. Folks, the truth is your vote counts. So get out there and vote. Now, this makes me think about when I heard about black folks voting in the 1950s and early 60s. They would go to the voting stations and the white people there would have a fishbowl on the counter. And in that fishbowl would be marbles. And they would say to the black people, first, you have to tell me how many marbles are in this fishbowl. And if you can tell me that, then you can vote. Do you hear me? That really happened. Well, back to Georgia. Community organizers got involved and were able to save these precincts from being closed. Now they just have to make sure that there aren't any sleight of hand or trickery going on the voting days. This type of misdeed is not only going on in Georgia, it's going on in California, Kansas, Massachusetts. It's time for unity. Now, I believe the majority of people in this country realize that no one ethnic group is responsible for the success of this country, and it's time to start acting like we know. Vote. 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 All right, this is kind of a disturbing trend that's going on here in the United States, and we have to stay on top of these kinds of stories. Here's the deal. A Mexican nationalist who remained in the United States is being charged with the murder of a young white woman named Molly Tibbetts. This story has been in the news for weeks. It's been on national and local news in search of this one girl. So her body was discovered a short time ago, and this young immigrant from Mexico named Christian Rivera is being charged with first-degree murder related to her death. Now make no mistake, my heart and prayers go out to her family for their loss, and to all of us. Now the status of Mr. Rivera is playing up in the news, so now there's a new push to put up a wall at the Mexican border. Remember, this is a murder story, not an immigration story. I submit we have a greater problem from an internal, murderous, serial element right here in the U.S., and the frequency of their attacks is growing. That element is white supremacists and their supporters. Now here's the truth. Some people see them as a necessary evil, and there's a fragment of the white population who view these heinous acts as a religious duty. Wow. Now, 2 young black women were assaulted on a BART train in San Francisco by a known white supremacist. One of them died. Her name is Nia Wilson, and she died from the stab wounds from this guy. Yet this story has all but gone away from the general public. And this terrorist, and that's what he is, a terrorist, is only one of many. So could somebody enlighten me how the actions of a lone immigrant could muster up more alarm than the legacy of violence from a group of people who have been in this country for centuries and have systematically committed acts of murder and terror, and yet still not be called a threat to our society as a whole? Please leave your comments in the comments section below if you understand this phenomenon, because I don't get it. You know, folks, we want to take this time to offer condolences to the John McCain family. He was a Republican. He was an American. And he aimed for what was best for our country, even if it went against his own political party. So we have to strive for unity in this country and not succumb to division and enmity. Let's all aim for a United States of America, like what John McCain was striving for. At the Wild Black segment, that means walking while black, talking while black. How about being pregnant while black?
Twins on the way says she was accused of hiding school supplies under her shirt at a local store.
I stepped aside from my transaction to speak with him, and he asked what was under my shirt.
That woman says she was questioned at the Staples along Pineville Matthews Road yesterday while paying for her purchase.
Being pregnant is already high risk, and having to deal with that, that's just additional stress that I don't need.
A back-to-school shopping nightmare during checkout.
Some hand sanitizer. Mid-transaction, a police officer who was already monitoring the store approached me and insisted that he wanted to speak with me.
Cheryl Bates says a police officer asked her if she was shoplifting from this Pineville Staples.
And he asked what was under my shirt. Initially, thought he was joking, so my response first was, twins. I'm pregnant, 34 weeks with twins.
She's in fact pregnant.
I'm having a boy and a girl.
But Bates says the officer didn't believe her the first time and asked her again.
And that point, to avoid him asking me again, I actually lifted my shirt just a little bit, just exposed my belly, just so you can see that, no, it's just, I'm just a regular pregnant person buying school supplies, notebooks.
Pineville Police says a Staples manager approached the officer and asked him to speak with Bates because the manager believed Bates may have been concealing merchandise.
When I confronted her about what happened, she admitted that, you know, in the past we've had a lot of people putting school supplies or merchandise in their clothes and hiding. So I asked our officer to reach out to you. You pretty much jumped the gun without any type of evidence except for my stomach is large, and that's not fair. No mom should have to go through that.
Okay, I'm happy to report that Staples terminated that manager, and well, she should have been terminated. Well, we've come to the part of our program we call our good news segment, and I'm ready for some good news. Our good news story for this broadcast is about how the whole world was blessed with the angelic and gifted voice of Aretha Franklin. Folks, I didn't realize the impact of her voice and presence here on earth. I didn't realize that her music has affected me through the evolution of my life. She was more than just a soul singer, literally. She sang country, classical, arias, jazz, and the national anthem. One of the first songs I heard from her was a song called Take a Look in the Mirror, a song we all should keep in mind. The song finishes with the lyrics, Lord, take a look at your children before it's too late and tell them that nobody wins when the price is hate. So I say to the man in the mirror and to all of you, nobody wins when the price is hate. Well, we've come to the finish of another broadcast. We ask that you please subscribe to our program if you found this informative or maybe even entertaining. We can also be touched on Facebook, that's at CoonTunes, the number 2, and on Instagram and Twitter at CoonTunes, the number 2. Don't forget to subscribe. Please click the like button and leave a comment. Now, as always, God bless and stay woke.